Hi everybody and welcome back to DR Sports Boxing. We have another big night of boxing this weekend. Lawrence Okolie defends his world cruiserweight title against Chris Billam-Smith down in Bournemouth. And with me to discuss, shall I say, I've got my panel members to my right. The Chris Billam-Smith simp. James in the house, what do you say?
Hey, thank you very much. Good to be here, man. Long time no see, brothers.
That's good. And to my immediate left, we got the voice of reason, Nick in the house. What are you saying, bro?
I'm here, man. Chilling.
Big clap for Nick.
Chilling.
And to my far left, we got Shane in the building.
What's up, man? What's up?
No round of applause for Shane.
No,
Applause.
bro.
What can you tell us about Shane McGuigan going into this fight? That's my question to you.
I can definitely tell you a lot about Shane McGuigan, to be honest. I'm not a massive fan. That's the first place to start. But let's talk about the fight. I mean, Lawrence Okolie versus Billam-Smith.
In Bournemouth.
To be honest with you.
For the title.
Are we going live for this fight?
Yeah, we are.
We're going live for this fight. Okay, everyone, save yourself from tuning into Sky and watching that ball fest and watch us on DR Sports.
We will definitely be more entertaining then.
100%. You're going to see two guys clinch. Definitely Lawrence Okolie. That's all this guy's game plan ever is to clinch. And you're going to see another guy in Billam-Smith who can't land a clean punch even if he tried. I am not a fan of neither one of those fighting styles.
Can I ask you a question, yeah? What is it about the cruiserweight division? Because people talk about Lawrence Okolie being really, really boring. He is boring. Possibly one of the most boring world champions there is.
I've ever seen.
But I'm going to dissent from that.
That's fine. I know you don't agree with that, but that's cool. But also, like, Billam-Smith is kind of boring. Reactpor's kind of boring.
Billam-Smith.
Why is
Billam-Smith is not boring.
I find Billam-Smith boring.
I find him boring as well. Is it the division? Why are they all so boring?
It's not the division. I will tell you, cruiserweight is just guys who are big enough to be heavyweight, but they're nervous, so they just fight there and they don't want to.
Are they big enough to be heavyweight though?
Okolie and Reactpor are both.
Usyk, yeah, but
in terms of height, but maybe not built.
Okolie and Reactpor are both bigger than Usyk. I'll tell you that for free. Both Okolie
taller, but they're not bigger men.
Even then, Usyk is just so technically great. He's able to bridge the gap.
A big dude.
Yeah, but he's not bigger than Usyk.
Usyk
is a lot thicker than. Anyway, before we get into all that,
he's a girthy boy.
Let me set the scene. So yeah, we said Lawrence Okolie defending his WBO cruiserweight title, which he's held since 2021. Against Chris Billam-Smith, who's from Bournemouth. Now, Lawrence Okolie, the champion, having to defend in the other guy's home turf is a bit strange, but I think it's to do with marketing and all the rest of it.
It definitely is strange, yeah.
The two used to be stable mates and friends. I think they are respectful to each other, but I wouldn't say they're friends anymore. As Shane said, they both used to be trained by Shane McGuigan. Shane McGuigan still trains Billam-Smith, but now Okolie's been trained by Sugar Hill, I believe, who trains Tyson Fury. Some receipts. So, Lawrence Okolie, the champion. Lawrence the Source Okolie, 30 years old, born in Hackney, 6'5", 82.5-inch reach. That's massive. He's orthodox, as we said, trained by Sugar Hill Steward. 19 fights, 19 wins, 14 KOs. The guy's got serious power. His strengths, I would say, is punching power, awkward. He's very physically strong, Lawrence. You know what I mean? And as one of the panels saying, his dimensions are that of a heavyweight boxer, basically. His weaknesses, I would say, he's got zero inside game. He can't fight inside to save his life. He's also pretty ungainly, so he just looks awkward at times. Chris Billam-Smith, the gentleman, that's his nickname, 32 years old, born in Epsom, Surrey, but now resides in Bournemouth, 6'3", again, very long reach, 82.5-inch reach, orthodox, 18 fights, 17 wins, 12 KOs, so he's a good puncher. One loss, a split points loss to Richie Reactpor a few years ago. Yeah. His strengths, he's also got decent punching power, physically very strong, good strength and conditioning, good athlete, decent chin, got a lot of heart. His weaknesses, as Shane would probably tell you, his defense isn't great, tends to get caught. Even in his last fight before,
he gets caught all the time.
He got rocked on a few occasions.
And he don't land clean punches neither. He's just messy, just a messy fighter.
Right, okay.
It's like,
You've had a lot to say. Let's talk to James.
How the judges score this one?
Let's talk to James.
I mean, Lawrence Okolie it's a weird one, isn't it? Since he's moved to boxer, he's become the big fish in a small pond. I mean, you can't turn on YouTube without seeing an advert of Lawrence Okolie these days. I'm trying to watch the meltdown of anything. I'm trying to watch Matisse's meltdown over Chelsea right now. Every time I turn on my YouTube channel, I'm seeing Okolie there. But he hasn't lived up to it. For me, you say his punch power is great. He seems a bit gun-shy to me right now. It seems like almost he doesn't have enough faith in his punch resistance almost.
Could be.
As you see, he's a bit herky-jerky. He's
In the amateurs, he got knocked out a few times.
Yeah, and he's... I don't know if that's why he seems so unentertaining on the eye, so unappeasing. As you said, he's not a very slick technical guy. He's very awkward and rangy. And Shane McGuigan was actually speaking about this. It was about a month ago I heard this interview, and he was talking about he was actually talking about this, and he was touching on Okolie's mental weaknesses, and he actually said he thinks that he can get Billam-Smith to expose some of Lawrence Okolie's mental weaknesses, and he didn't touch on what exactly those are, whether that is the punch resistance, like I said, whether he knows something else inside Okolie's head. But Okolie, I mean, he's been going on these weird rants about Eddie Hearn as well to gain traction.
He always has. He's always been like this. He's had we remember the beef that he had with Dylan White before. Like, the mental fragilities have always been there with Lawrence Okolie. He can obviously punch very, very hard. It reminds me a little bit of a Wilder type, where he can hit very hard, but maybe doesn't lack some of the technical ability to actually set the shot up.
But he's also nowhere near the power of Deontay Wilder.
And
for someone of his size, he's a lot smaller.
Wilder in the ring is very, very mentally durable.
Yes.
Like, we've seen Wilder hurt in fights, down in fights. Like, you could have easily quit in both Fury fights, or the last two Fury fights. You show him show fight. We've never seen Lawrence Okolie do that once.
I think the fact that he does have this kind of jab, right hand grab style, which is infuriating for a lot of people
Barely
to watch.
the right hand.
I was about to say,
Like a B-Tech Vladimir Klitschko.
He does.
That's
His right hand is no. Let me explain. Hang on. The right hand is a serious punch, bro. Trust me.
If he can land it, but most of
he throws the right hand a lot.
Yeah, he throws
if
it in
anything,
slow
he's too
motion.
predictable.
Most of the time, it's jab and grab, jab and grab.
No.
Waiting
Watch
for
him
that right
again.
hand.
It's 1-2, 1-2.
I'll watch
grab.
him again if you pay me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not watching him in my free time.
Definitely not in my free time.
Do you know what I mean?
I think the problem Lawrence has is, and James, you might have touched on an interesting point when you maybe suggested that he doesn't have belief in his chin, because what he tends to do is he will throw the jab and the jab right hand and then literally just try and grab his opponent. He has no inside game.
None.
So I would imagine that's one of the things that Sugar Hill Stewart will be working on, trying to develop an inside game, trying to get him to throw an uppercut. For a big guy like that, such a powerful right hand, you would have thought that he would have learned the technique of throwing uppercuts.
Definitely.
I would imagine that's something that Sugar Hill will do.
Imposing as well. He can smother most people, and then.
But the only thing I would say about that is that he's only been with Sugar Hill a short amount of time, so to expect to turn him into a Tommy Earns overnight, that's not going to happen.
I mean, even, and I actually agree with that point, but even if he does look to transition up to heavyweight, that fighting style doesn't look like it transitions well, especially with the heavyweights that we have now. Majority of the fighters at heavyweight do have a tight inside game. They're going to look to go on the inside, expose. He's got a long torso. They're going to try and work that body, and he's not going to be physically stronger than everyone at heavyweight.
Which is why I actually disagree with your first point. When you talk about Alexander Usyk going up, he's still a hell of a lot smaller than the heavyweights, because now people, I mean, if you compare it to 50 years ago or something, the heavyweights, having Tyson Fury 6'9", Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua 6'7", the only reason someone like Usyk is able to compete and hang in there with those people that are so much bigger than him is he has exceptional footwork, exceptional technical abilities, things that someone like Lawrence Okolie just doesn't have.
Okolie's 6'6" though.
But he doesn't
6'5".
He doesn't have. You said his power's good. He doesn't have it. Like, he doesn't have a considerably exceptional attribute to compete with these people that are naturally a lot bigger than him, like an Anthony Joshua. Like,
but I think we're getting ahead of the game. Let's concentrate on this fight. So, to talk about him going up to heavyweight, that is
too
removed from what we're talking about now. Let's focus on the fight on Saturday. Listen, I think it's going to be a very good fight. I think Chris Billam-Smith is a good fighter. He's fighting at home. He's going to have lots of motivation. He will see this as a winnable fight. Apparently, they've sparred hundreds of rounds together, and you hear certain stories. The stories I've heard is that Lawrence predominantly got the better of him. But there were times when Chris Billam-Smith did well against Lawrence. That's going to happen in sparring as well. But I would say the keys to victory for Billam-Smith are he's got to use his jab if he can to close the distance, go to Lawrence's body. Once inside, you've got to try to rough Lawrence up. And when Lawrence does grab you, you kind of got to show out to the referee and see, yeah, look, he's holding me. He won't let me fight inside. Definitely. And because Lawrence has got this reputation of not fighting inside, then the referee will probably say, work your way out type of thing. So he's got to do that. He's also got to keep up a high work rate because sometimes Lawrence's work rate will drop, especially, as you said, if he's not landing his shots, he tends to get a little bit disillusioned and look a bit bereft of ideas. And the sparring experiences, Chris Billam-Smith would have built up in his mind ways that he can overcome Lawrence. So he's got to try and, use that in the ring. But I personally think that this is going to be a very good fight because on the line, man, and Lawrence is coming off some poor performances. He's going to want to show people that he can be exciting, that he can be a knockout puncher. If I could just finish. He's going to want to show people, man, that he's nowhere near as bad as what a lot of people are making out. And I've seen Lawrence perform very well. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a different side to him for this fight.
This fight is going to be dirty. They both need to fight a little bit dirty. Like you said, Chris Billam-Smith needs to rough up Okolie, which is no mean feat because Okolie's very big and very strong. And I think Okolie needs to work on punching on the break. If he can punch on the break and do a little bit of damage inside there, just when the ref is splitting them, and really, because once he gets close, there's no punches. He stops punching completely. Yeah. They do a full reset and then he goes in. Even if he gets a warning from the judge, do a little bit of damage when you're in there. Make it really ugly, especially because we know Billam-Smith is going to try and get physical with him. Do some damage while he's not a good. But don't you think
Lawrence's best tactics will be to keep it at range, and then as soon as Billam-Smith tries to close the range, then you come with the right hand?
But that's what he's obviously going to do. But once he gets inside, he allows the ref to keep them really separate. He needs to make it a little bit dirtier. All his fights are dirty, but he never, or awkward looking, but he never seems quite comfortable in a dirty fight, which is strange considering how dirty they all are. He needs to be a little bit rougher and a little bit more robust. I think that Lawrence Okolie will probably get a stoppage if I had to put money on it, but yeah, definitely Billam-Smith is going to look to mentally rattle him. Do you know what I mean? I think there'll be a lot from the crowd. I think everything will play into it. The media, the ring walk, they're going to do a lot of stuff to try and get in his head quite early doors.
Yeah, I reckon if he goes to points, I reckon Billam-Smith, if he can keep
I don't know who Okolie can beat on points. I think,
No, he's won a few fights. He won his last.
He's won 5 fights on points, I know, but honestly.
And people talk about, a couple of you guys are questioning his punching power. Even that fight that he never locked David Light out in, the guy from New Zealand, but you saw what happened to David Light afterwards. He went to hospital and he suffered a brain concussion. Yeah, that was quite serious. He had a bit of a coma. Yeah, so listen, man. He
can hit very, very hard.
Lawrence has got serious power, 100%. Let me tell you. And I've spoken to people who've been in gyms with Lawrence and they said that he's flatline people. And I'm not allowed to say who they are, but he's flatline famous fighters. Shane.
I mean, leopards don't change their stripes. Lawrence Okolie is going to do what he normally does.
Is it spots or stripes?
Or zebras don't change. Whatever whatever animal, they don't change whatever their cloak is. He's going to do what he always does. He's going to come, try and move. Jab. Whenever someone gets close, he's going to grab. That's what you're going to see if you watch the fight. It's going to be so boring. Billam-Smith doesn't have a good enough inside game where he lands effective punches enough and his defense is horrible. He might get some of the rounds just off an overwhelming work rate. But in terms of who I would lean towards Okolie because he's a master at holding. And if he don't get deducted points from that, I can't see him losing the fight. If the ref, that's why I agree with you. Billam-Smith has to complain. The first clinch, I'm complaining to the ref. The first clinch,
they got to use the head to do that. And put pressure on the ref.
If not, by round 10, 11, 12, Lawrence Okolie's got to be thinking in his mind, if I clinch, I am either going to get deducted a point or I'm going to get disqualified, like a Henry Akinwande type style. And if he can't clinch, he literally has nothing else on the inside. Absolutely nothing. So I'm not looking forward to this fight, but I'm looking forward to the stream. So
who you got then?
Okolie.
Okolie. James?
Ooh, I mean, you said he's a master at holding. The question is, under the pressure, under the bright lights against his former coach, will they rattle him enough to the point where he can't hold on to his belt? I'd like to think that McGuigan's onto something. I'd like to think that Chris Billam-Smith has something to expose there, but I just don't. I don't see him having it. Unfortunately, like you said, Okolie power, a little bit too much. He's an awkward fighter. I mean, did you call him Lawrence the Sauce, Okolie?
Well, that's what he called himself.
Because the only sauce I'm seeing is lemon and herb from him right now. He needs to upgrade that peri hot kind of sauce. You know what I mean? I know it's around the beach.
I think when he gave himself that name, that's what he meant.
Yeah,
that peri hot sauce.
Well, unfortunately, it's not very hot, mate. I'm not the best with spices, but that is definitely not the hottest sauce. But he needs a big performance. He does need a big performance because, like I said, Boxer have invested a lot into him, and a win is not enough. Like you said, it needs to be an impressive win. It needs, and
that's why I'm looking forward to this fight. I honestly think it's going to be a lot better than all these guys.
I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be ugly. And I like Chris Billam-Smith as a person, but something about Chris Billam-Smith being the world.
No, but listen,
it doesn't sit
Chris
right.
Billam-Smith.
Does that seem right to you?
No, but there's been worse champions than Chris Billam-Smith, bro. Trust me. He's a decent fighter. He's not fantastic at any single thing, but I'll tell you one thing: he will give you a lot of effort, a lot of heart and guts. He's fighting himself in front of his own crowd on Saturday. I think if I'm right,
you say he's from Epsom.
No, I think he was born in Epsom, but he's from Bournemouth.
Got you. Okay, fine.
And if he wins a title, it would be the second boxing world title champion from Bournemouth ever. Anyone know who the first
No, definitely not.
Freddie Mills, long before your time.
Oh,
Freddie Mills. Some of you guys out there may have heard of Freddie Mills.
He was quality. He was quality back in the day.
I mean, Bournemouth is not a hotbed of boxing. You know what I mean?
How far? When's Freddie Mills? When was he fighting?
I think he held the title from 1948 to
1948. Laurie.
So you saying he's not a world champion because...
But how do you expect me to know that, bro?
Nah, he was pretty class, I gotta say.
So Maurizio Lara's fighting.
Casuals don't understand, but
Yeah.
So anyway, don't forget, guys, you can watch that at the weekend with us on DR Sports Boxing. Make sure you check that out. We'll be live streaming. We've been doing it for all the big fights, having a lot of fun, and
it's a great crowd.
Personally, I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm leaning towards Lawrence, but you can't underestimate the home fighter. You can't underestimate those attributes that Chris Billam-Smith has, and I reckon if it goes to points, don't be surprised to see the title change hands. That's all I'm saying.